All right, so we're going to see Trump highlights. We're going to see reporting on like a summary of the week's news events from Kamala camp. Like last week, they did the Call Her Daddy podcast and all that crazy shit. They continued with that this week, but didn't have time for the Al Smith dinner. Remember, because it's just too busy. It's an election year. They don't have time for 20% of the population to represent yourself without cringe. So, and then we have Tim Waltz, who of course is running with Kamala, and he went hunting. Can you smell it? It's coming. It's coming. And then the memes of Tim trying to load his shotgun with tampons, they'd be flying around all week. And all the Second Amendment and hunters, because it's not the same thing, but people who appreciate one do usually do the other, right? There's not just people into self-defense that don't have an interest in eating food, so they probably do know at least of hunting and have a respect for those who can acquire food with such tools out there. Tim Waltz is not one of those people. I would not want him in a hunting party. I would not want him in my block defense party from like this guy. He's literally a loose shotgun. No, metaphorically, figuratively, he's a loose shotgun. So we have the Jimmy Dore making fun of it, and then we have Coleon Noir probably telling us how dangerous it is when people, are not up to snuff with their practice and knowledgeability experience with firearms, because he's got a really nice shotgun. Apparently, he doesn't know how to load it or keep it in a state where the battery is closed. So anyway,
Dude, it'd be so epic to see him and his new supporter Dick Cheney go on a shotgun hunting trip. The calamities that would ensue, right?
I would hate to see what happened if Tim Waltz cheated Dick Cheney and then went hunting with Dick Cheney. Actually, I would pay for the body cam footage, probably. That would be good pay-per-view. All right. Morbid humor aside. Let's go to Trump at Al Smith. And these are just the highlights of things that he went off script with, because he didn't have a teleprompter, but he did have, in my opinion, he had like a Tony Hinchcliffe type roast writer write his jokes, which is the usual. And at roasts, a lot of times the same writers are working on all the sides of the people, and that's how it's so choreographed, right? So Trump did, and he does have a rude, not rude, but he was something he recognized was over the line with the Catholic audience, because he talks about Kamala's husband, don't let him near the nannies, because he's got a history anyway. So let's see what the man of cholesterol question stature has to say to the fine folks at the Al Smith dinner.
Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing. There's nothing to say. I guess I just don't see the point of taking shots at myself when other people have been shooting at me for a hell of a long time, and they shoot at. But I know this isn't my normal crowd tonight, because it just isn't. It's not my normal crowd. Believe me, my normal crowd is younger, has a lot more energy, but you have certain advantages too, like cash, lots of cash. But many of you are Manhattan liberals from the media and the Democrat Party. I always say the Democrat, Chuck doesn't like that. He likes Democratic, and it sounds much more beautiful, the Democratic Party. I always say the Democrat Party because it sounds worse. It is true. He likes Democratic. Why don't they just change the name? This way, it is Democrat. But I must say I was shocked when I heard that Kamala was skipping the Al Smith dinner. I'd really hoped that she would come, because we can't get enough of hearing her beautiful laugh. She laughs like crazy. We would recognize it any place in this room, and all polls are indicating I'm leading big with the Catholic vote, as I should be. But I don't think Kamala has given up yet. She hasn't. Instead of attending tonight, she's in Michigan receiving communion from Gretchen Whitmer. That's not a pretty sight. But Catholics, please don't be too insulted by Kamala's absence. if the Democrats, he goes, thank you very much, I appreciate it. If Democrats really wanted to have someone not be with us this evening, they would have just sent Joe Biden. You know, he's having second thoughts, you know that, right? He wants to come back. If she does any worse in the polls, they're going to bring him back again, I think. Chuck, he's going to do it. He's the one that got him out. That's the guy. Much more so than Crazy Nancy, I will tell you. Because I know him. He did it. Joe has appeared from view. The only way he could be seen less is if he had a show on CNN. They had nothing. They've got nothing. Fake news, right? Fake. Someone in the White House who can barely talk, barely put together two coherent sentences, who seems to have mental faculties of a child, it's said. Is a person that has nothing going, no intelligence whatsoever, but enough about Kamala Harris. Let's get on to something else. I know Kamala's word because she spends a lot of time complaining. I won't agree to another debate. But the truth is I've debated twice this year, once against Joe Biden and once against David Muir of ABC. It's been a long tradition for both Democrat and Republican candidates for president of the United States to attend this dinner. Always it's a rule. You got to go to the dinner. You got to do it. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen to you from up there. You can't do what I just saw on that screen. But my opponent feels like she does not have to be here, which is deeply disrespectful. I've never liked people that I was competing against. When you do, a lot of bad things happen. And we are doing well. By the way, the votes are starting to come in. You got to get out and vote. And Catholics, you got to vote for me. Just remember. You better remember I'm here. And she's not. I could have done that too. But you do something that's incredible, the Catholic Church, you're helping the poor, educating children, and supporting the vulnerable. But if you really wanted Vice President Harris to accept your invitation, I guess you should have told her the funds were going to bail out the looters and rioters in Minneapolis, and she would have been here, guaranteed she would have been here. Guaranteed. The last Democrat not to attend this important event was Walter Mondale, and it did not go very well for him. He lost 49 states and he won one, Minnesota. So I said, there's no way I'm missing it. Actually, it was not easy for me to get here tonight. Because I wasn't going to miss this thing, no matter, I didn't care. I wasn't going to miss it. But that's true, Walter Mondale, 49 and 1. He was expected to do well. And it didn't work out. It shows you there is a God. I mean, for those people that are questioning it. I understand the real reason that she's not here is she's hunting with her running mate, spending a lot of time hunting. In any event, it's a weird. You know the word weird. They call me weird. They call JD weird. We're very solid people. This guy is calling us weird, but this was weird that the Democrat candidate is not here and with us tonight. Senator Schumer, good. Yeah, I supported him. I don't know. He used to say that's true, and now I'm not sure he would, but I gave him his first check from an office in Beach Haven, and I was very proud of it. I don't know about lately. Chuck Schumer is here looking very... Doesn't he look lovely? He looks lovely. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president. And I actually said, do you mind if I do that? He said, no, you got to do what you got to do. He's a pro. He's a professional. No, he's a good man, actually. I hate to say it. Don't ever use it against me, please. They'll say, this dinner was really setting me back when I say no. But I've known him a long time. There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. I didn't like Biden very much, and now I like him quite a bit. You know, and now I say that she's much worse than him. He was a much better candidate than her, actually. And when we hopefully win, dispose of her, I like her a lot. But right now I can't stand her. It's true. I can't stand her. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep them away. That's a nasty one. That's nasty. I told these idiots that gave me this stuff, that's too tough. Oh, I did, you know, they told me the last time I did this, I was running against crooked Hillary. Hillary. No, I was running against crooked Hillary and I did it, and I thought it was a roast. So I was told it's a roast. And I had the meanest guy you've ever seen write stuff up, and man, was the room angry. Even the Cardinal remembers. I went overboard. Don't you agree, Cardinal? It was like terrible. And I knew I was in trouble around midway through because, you know, people had not, even my own side was angry at me. They were saying, it's too much. But I did it anyway. I didn't give it. I'd like to thank our MC this evening, Jim Gaffigan. Most recently, Jim has been playing Tim Waltz on Saturday Night Live. And that'll be a very short gig, I hope, Jim. But it was fun while it lasted, wasn't it? Let's see how that lasts. It better be quick. We don't want him, and I'm not going to say anymore. But unfortunately, Governor Walz isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He's going to say he was. I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods. But then I met Tim Waltz. The stupid show, The View, is so bad now that the other day I was watching. You know what? They really need to bring Rosie O'Donnell back. That show is bad. Those people are bad. I know every one of them, and they are bad news, I want to tell you.
This is Power Hour with Gabriella Power.
Hello and welcome to Power Hour. With less than 20 days to go until polling day in America, Kamala Harris has nowhere to hide anymore. She's avoided hard interviews her entire election campaign up until today. Her interview on Fox News has just exposed her. Let's start with this question by Brett Bayer. He asks if Kamala Harris still supports allowing illegal immigrants to apply for driver's licenses as well as receiving other benefits, like she did when she first ran for president just a few years ago.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
Hot tip for you. Kamala Harris is convincing no one with that pathetic answer. She's acting like 5 years ago was a past life. Now, as we know, one of the biggest issues for voters at this election is the crisis at the southern border and the millions of illegal immigrants that have entered into the US under the Biden-Harris administration. Now, just how many illegals have entered? What's the figure? Being the Vice President, Kamala Harris knows exactly what it is, so why doesn't she want to say it out loud?
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you
now,
just a number? Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
The answer that the American people deserve to know is there have been around 10 million encounters at the border, and the DHS estimates at least 6 million have been released into the United States. It's actually hard to fathom that number here in Australia. And instead of giving Americans the truth and the figures like she was asked, the Vice President described the crisis as a topic of discussion. Like it's something to chat about. Sadly, it's not just a topic of discussion. It is the reality that the American people are facing because the border is wide open thanks to the border czar. Now, we are going to keep dissecting this train wreck interview with our guests in a moment, but I really think this is the moment when the VP got caught out, when she couldn't get away with blaming Donald Trump for her failures.
More than 70% of people
exhausted.
tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade, people
you're the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me.
What is she talking about? You know, that is not clear to anyone. Kamala Harris has had a great run trying to fool Americans, but the game is up. Let's go to Phoenix, Arizona now, where we're joined by Turning Point Action official spokeswoman Caitlin Sinclair. Caitlin, thank you for joining us on Power Hour. First of all, we've just watched that train wreck interview with Kamala Harris on Fox News. What's your reaction to it?
Well, whoever encouraged Kamala Harris to do an interview with Fox News host Bret Baier, I want to personally send a thank you note to whoever that staffer was, because ultimately this interview has just ruined her entire campaign. I think every American should watch this interview with Kamala Harris and Bret Baier, and it will really show she cracked at the first non-softball interview that was in front of her. And these were not got you questions, right? If every American watches this interview, Bret Baier was not trying to catch her in a I got you moment. These were policy questions. These were agenda questions. These were questions about the last 3.5 years of her administration questions. And she completely failed to answer any of them.
Well said. The US Border Patrol Union, representing 16,000 members, has officially endorsed Donald Trump for president. Here is Border Patrol agent Paul Perez speaking about it.
If we allow Border Czar Harris to win this election, every city, every community in this great country is going to go to hell.
It's interesting, Caitlin, Kamala Harris couldn't really answer as to why the Border Patrol Union is endorsing Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris, but what impact will it make?
Yeah, kind of weird for the border czar when the Border Patrol Council and Union doesn't endorse her. Kind of weird, right? And I want to talk about the significance of this endorsement happening right here in the state of Arizona, where, of course, we've seen all of these crossings. Now, at this point in the administration, every state has turned into a border state, but there was such power and significance in this Border Patrol Council, all 16,000 members endorsing Donald Trump for president here in the state of Arizona. And of course, Kamala Harris was not the one to call families of Laken Riley, Molly Tibbetts, Rachel Morin. Guess who was there for those young females that were killed at the hands of illegal immigrants due to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden? It was neither of them. It was Donald Trump. Donald Trump truly is the man that cares about females, that cares about a safe and secure border. And Kamala Harris, if you watch that interview, not only did she get angry, but she was actually screaming at the host when she was trying to blame Donald Trump for the policies that have existed under Joe Biden and her administration.
Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Tempe, Arizona, Los Angeles, Columbus, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati, Lexington, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. Don't go anywhere else. Tim Waltz went out and he tried to pretend that he was a hunter. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Why bother?
Tim Waltz never actually fires. He went out. He did. He went out. So here, that's him. He went out pheasant hunting. I guess that's to make him seem more alpha male and to get male votes. That's what this is about. I don't like people.
Peasants?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the only reason he went is because he thought it was peasant hunting instead of pheasant hunting. So he goes out and he never actually, he's wearing a mic and there's cameras. So this is all a big photo op. This is propaganda, campaign propaganda, which everybody does. And he never actually shoots his gun the whole time. He doesn't shoot. They actually tried to make it look like he shot his gun. I'll show you that. So this is a weak attempt. Paul A. says this is a weak attempt to try and win male voters who will now be even more turned away by this farce. You want to see it? Let's watch. This is like a minute long. Watch this.
Oh, hold on.
Nice shot. Oh, you got that.
So they made it look like he shot because he aimed and then you hear a shot. But he didn't because he goes, "Oh, you got that."
Oh, one note, Jimmy. Who gives a shit whether he got it? I don't understand why they're even doing this.
Let's watch it. So let's watch it again.
Nice shot. Oh, you got that. That was a good shot. And we'll get another one. They are shaking like crazy, Scott. He's on to something. Rooster! No, don't shoot. They came up behind you. That happens. A couple years ago, I got a double when we first started. Went right up my leg, like it was hitting my leg as it went up. No, pin. That's why it's hunting, not shooting, right? You knew it, didn't you, man? Off your right shoulder. And I'm gonna grab a Diet Mountain Dew if we got one. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna pound one down. And it got up off my shoulder.
Oh my God!
He's gonna pound. He's gonna pound a Diet Mountain Dew.
He's gonna deep throat a Mountain
placement
Dew
again.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? And then I'm gonna braid the fuck out of my hair.
Then I'm gonna hunt a big bag of Doritos.
I'm gonna pound a Diet Mountain Dew. That seems a little bit of contradictory. A Diet Mountain Dew. I'm watching my figure.
Okay, what's more?
But I'm gonna pound it.
Yeah, what is more gay innuendo? That man Kamala commercial or this?
Or this?
He's like, oh, you poor little thing. You said, no. That's what he said. That's a baby.
And he didn't pound it, by the way. He just took a regular sip of it.
Yeah.
He didn't pound. I don't know if you saw. There's 3/4 of it still left. He didn't.
At least tickle the bottom
pound
of it.
it. I'm gonna pound it. Sounds so masculine. He sounds like one of those gay guys on the Kamala thing, trying to sound masculine.
We don't want to get hens today. We just are looking for roosters.
Yeah.
That's right. You better shoot if we get one up, you guys.
It was fun. You got to get out.
It was fun. That's what I said. There's good days and there's great days, cousin honey.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's good days and there's great days. I've never done it because it seems like the most worthless kind of hunting. Is that the thing where they just throw the pheasants out for you to shoot at a prearranged location? That's the least. It's like the least manly way to hunt. It's like the Dick Cheney shooting his friend in the face way to hunt.
Yes. So here it says he didn't get one shot off despite his efforts. That's from the newspaper. There's good days and then there's great days, pheasant hunting, Waltz said when the day wrapped up.
He got his friend off after.
Scott Rawl, a friend of the governor who he often hunts with, made the sole kill on Saturday. Recovering the body of the birds was a top priority in the instructions given to the hunting party, but no one was able to find the carcass in the thick brush that at some point grew as tall as Walz himself.
Oh, it's like
so they shot a bird
and
they shot a bird and they couldn't find it. So I don't know what guys get out of killing things.
Nothing. Hunters get meat and stuff, and they hunt. It's like they're not faking it to seem manly. That's not a thing really hunters do. That's a thing that
Dick Cheney
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how Dick Cheney probably hunted George W. Bush as a boy through the woods naked, like a pheasant?
I just wanted to show you this, Kurt. Watch how little he knows about guns.
And it never fits quite right. Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This was a Beretta A400.
He can't load it. He's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, my service, I would never question his gun handle.
Because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff, so when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
Oh, dear God. So this is to reassure people that they don't want to take your guns away?
So, yeah, that's what this is. He didn't even know how to load his own gun, and he lied about being a hunter. And here, flashback, here's Elmer Fudd, Tim Waltz, a.k.a. Touchdown Timmy, brags and lies about carrying weapons of war. You want to see him do it?
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
A war on pheasants?
Boy, it's a good thing they don't use shotguns in war anymore, because he would be like, how do you do this?
Hey, Second Amendment's not for hunting. The Second Amendment is to defend yourself against the government.
That's
the
right.
thing that people find scary and bad, and that's why they want to take guns away. I don't want to go fight the government with the guns. That's why they put the amendment, though.
Elmer Fudd could fire his weapon, but not Tim. Yeah. I just wanted to show you that. You want to say? I want to play this one more time. Let's watch
it.
This.
Never fits quite right.
Never quits. Just so damn.
How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This was a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
Who asked him what you think that woman that asked gives a shit what kind of gun it is, or do you think this is part of the ad?
Yeah, that's part of the ad. Like, then you ask him what kind of gun it is, so he gets to say it, and he looks like he knows what he's doing.
You know what? He should have just made White Guy Taco Night and done that video, something he likes.
Yes,
because who gives a shit? Like, let's say Trump was like, I don't like guns myself, and I never hunted, and whatever. People would still vote for him because no one gives a shit about. I'm not a 13-year-old girl reading Teen Magazine. I don't care about your likes and dislikes. I don't care about nothing except what you're going to do in the job you got hired for. I don't care about your identity. What kind of an idiot would
watches
care?
This and then says, hey, I'm going to vote for him?
Well, no one. This is worthless. But, I mean, just Kamala. What kind of idiot's like, I'm excited about the first woman president? Why? What does that bring to the table? Well, it's a woman. And? Are you struggling with back taxes?
Man, I gotta say, Tim Walz is such a weird guy. And he's also a liar, as far as I'm concerned. You see, Tim Walz loves to brag about how great of a pheasant shooter he is.
Talking about guns, I guarantee you he can't shoot pheasants like I can.
And in his goofy attempt to prove to the world that he's this great mythical pheasant shooter, all he ends up doing is proving that he's nothing more than a FUD who doesn't know anything about how his own shotgun works.
Well, Vice Presidential nominee Tim Waltz doesn't exactly exude alpha male energy, and his weekend hunting trip hasn't helped.
No, Walz looked more like Elmer Fudd than a real shooter, which, let's be honest, is probably a good thing based on this vision.
My theory, and it never fits quite right. Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This was a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff.
You see, in the gun community, FUD is what we call someone who claims to support some aspect of the Second Amendment, but not others. Basically, those related to modern firearms or the right to own and carry handguns or semi-automatic rifles. The term comes from Elmer Fudd, the Looney Tunes character known for hunting Bugs Bunny with a shotgun. It has evolved to represent people with a comically narrow view of gun ownership, usually focused on hunting or traditional firearms that nobody really cares about anymore, while often dismissing the need for self-defense weapons like AR-15s or concealed carry handguns. And just for kicks, here's another example of a FUD.
If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun, have the shells, a 12-gauge shotgun, and I promise you, as I told my wife, we live in an area that's wooded and somewhat secluded. I said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony here or walk out, put that double-barrel shotgun and fire 2 blasts outside the house. I promise you, who's ever coming in is not going to. You don't need an AR-15. It's harder to aim, it's harder to use, and in fact, you don't need 30 rounds to protect yourself. Buy a shotgun.
So Tim Walz thought, I know how I'll win folks over. I'll do a pheasant hunting photo op. I'll slap on some blaze orange, grab a shotgun, and boom, I'll become a 2A god. Except, watching Walz try to pull off this little stunt was like watching someone try to convince you they're a world-class chef and then burning ramen noodles. Look, I can tell if someone knows guns the second they pick them up. I mean, look at the way he's holding the shotgun. You can literally feel the awkwardness. He's holding the shotgun like he just picked up a tampon. Meanwhile, the guy next to him was carrying his like he's been here before.
Hey. Gotta say this is the first for a pheasant hunt for me. I know. Happens all the time here hunting. So we were saying, Matt, when it was Scott and I, just the two of us, it was a little different.
Yeah, they're working. Those guys are ready to go.
What you need there? Okay. Keep walking. Okay, we can do that. All right.
He might as well have been waving that thing around like a magic wand. He damn near muzzled his homeboy. Honestly, the only thing in danger that day were the people unfortunate enough to stand too close to him. No pheasants were harmed. No birds were even seen. For all I know, this whole thing was filmed on a soundstage somewhere in Hollywood. You see, this is what annoys me about these Second Amendment butter types. You know the ones. They hit you with, I support the Second Amendment, but, and then proceed to rattle off every anti-gun policy in the book. When they do try to prove they're pro-2A, it's always with some bougie elitist form of hunting. Tim Walz wasn't slogging through the woods for deer or climbing a mountain for elk. He was pheasant hunting. Now, don't get it twisted. I have a streak of bougie in me also, and I'll go pheasant hunting with the quickness. But let's not act like it's some backcountry survival adventure. If Walz had rolled up with an AR-15 for some hog hunting, then maybe we'd be talking. Go run through the mud, crawl through brush, and try stalking a deer or an elk.
This is not my world. So for me, it was eye-opening, to say the least.
But no, Tim thought, let's take a scenic stroll through some tall grass and call it a day. He wasn't hunting birds. This fool was hunting cameras. But here's what really blows my mind. This was supposed to be a photo op. Like, Tim, you knew the cameras were there. You had one job. Look competent for 5 minutes. Hell, you could have practiced this off camera. Yet, you somehow managed to capture your own incompetence on purpose. This was a masterclass in how not to fake being a gun guy. Keep in mind, this is the same guy who said this nonsense.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
If Walz picked up an AR-15 today, I guarantee it would look 10 times worse than whatever was going on with that shotgun. Everything he had on, from the boots to the blaze orange vest, looked like it was bought 15 minutes before they hit record. I bet some poor staffer ran into Academy Sports like, we need hunting stuff, stat. They probably grabbed the first shotgun they saw and told Waltz, just smile and look manly, Governor. He looked like a struggle Saint Laurent model on a hunting-themed runway show. Every hunter I know has gear that tells a story. Meanwhile, Waltz is out here in fresh, off-the-rack gear like he's posing for an Instagram photo. Waltz is spouting the kind of nonsense we've come to expect from Fuds, the gun guy who claims to support the Second Amendment, but only for shotguns and hunting rifles. Yeah, sure. As long as it's not black with evil plastic on it, he's cool with it. Damn. It just hit me. Tim Walz is a tactical gun racist. It's 2024, Tim. We're out here using AR-15s for everything. Hunting, home defense, recreational shooting, and you're stuck in the 1915s chasing silly wabbits. At the end of the day, this whole stunt was exactly what it looked like. A desperate attempt to seem relatable while pandering to people who know better. If Walz really believed in the Second Amendment, he wouldn't have to stage some hokey pheasant hunt to prove it. His actions would speak louder than his awkward photo shoots. But hey, at least it gave us a good laugh. And for those of you out there who are pheasant hunters, hog hunters, deer hunters, whatever you're hunting, I got the perfect hearing protection for you on those hunts. You see, one thing about Walz that he didn't do was he wasn't wearing the appropriate ear protection either. You see, the AKT1s, my favorite in-ear wireless Bluetooth hearing protection, would have suited him just fine, and any other hunter just fine, because they have a 25 dB rating, and they also have active blocking, and they also have transparency mode, which allows you to hear what's going on around you while having a beautifully long battery life. And at the same time, you could listen to your music, you can take a phone call, you name it. So I'm going to put a link in the description section so you guys can check out my favorite all-time wireless Bluetooth.
Because I didn't even know they made such earbuds. Now I want to go check that out, because I thought, well, I have some like noise canceling, like big green things in my bag, but new tech be a thing. If you could get ear protection, it's also got Bluetooth, that could be cool. All right, so Tim Waltz, what do you think, Scott? Was that a good example of his alpha maleness?
No, not at all. It's just like a complete backfire. And I love the concept of the FUD, right? I mean, it just
he did the meme.
He like, literally did the meme.
He did the meme, and they didn't even mean to do the meme. So that's when it's really funny.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just it just again just seems pandering to substantiate their argument that no, we're not trying to take your guns, we're not trying to take your guns, right? And that whole clip, that the flashback of Biden just being like, yeah, all you got to do is just like stand out there and just with your double barrel shotgun that like has like, you know, one round in each chamber, and you blast it in there. Oh, and then now you're defenseless, right? That's so much easier to use in a tight situation than an AR-15, right? He just they just don't understand, man. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but like one of the most haunting things I've seen is like this guy was out like hunting and just getting charged by a pack of wild boars, you know, just charging him. And he's like backpedaling, just unloading his AR-15, just like boom, 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 just like as quick as he can, like throwing a new magazine in. And it's like, those situations exist, you know, you know, and not to mention, you know, all the other reasons why we might want to have a high-powered firearm like that. But, you know, there's just not even an argument. There's just not even an argument for, you know, just limiting our ability to protect ourselves when it comes to anything like that. Just like a double barrel shotgun, get out of here. So yeah, this stuff just like gets me all worked up. And so it's actually good though that they're just putting themselves on blast and demonstrating that they are in fact the anti-gun party, and that they just don't have any idea what they're doing, and we can all see it. And so just quit wasting our time. It's just reinforcing our position, I guess.
But we're not their target audience. And my question is, they're going for swing voters or whatever. Voters who go both ways, maybe. They don't know the difference. They might have seen Tim Waltz and be like, oh, that's you know, a minute of manly content. I also want to point out that there's like a camera team there, and that was the best footage to represent what happened there. That's another problem, because I'd have been like, let's do it again tomorrow. Maybe something will happen. We got nothing we could show that would make this look good.
Yeah, they need a new propaganda team other than the ones that produced that video, and
they're fine with the one they have, I think.
Well, okay, just keep
never interrupt your enemy when they're in the middle of making a mistake. That's the plan. 101.
Brought to you by the people who made the "I'm a Man" video that we saw last week, right?
Also, they should know, but they don't, and they don't watch this show, so I'm not worried about them finding out. But they should know that we know that the either or argument, like, we don't go for that. It's an also and. Every gun owner knows shotgun, AR-15, also and. Yeah. Pheasant gun, turkey gun, self-defense shotgun, also and. It's not just one of those things. It's like you go around the sun many times, you pick things up, you collect and keep things that are both for hunting and self-defense, and that's how you have a history to be able to leave to the future generations of freedom and not slavery and tyranny, as was the story of most of human history. For most people, unless you had a word like king before your name, you didn't have rights. someone else decided everything for you from afar. And finally, individuals got the technology to say, no, thank you, please, and actually stand their ground once upon a time. And, Second Amendment may be a vestigial remnant, or it may be an active insurance policy against tyranny. I don't know how people, it depends, different strokes for different folks. But I would say that there are people who are against guns that are very happy to call people with guns when they feel scared and need to be protected. And I just want to let you know, you have the invitation to go get experienced and become a consumer, and then practice and get some more experience and not feel so unsafe and, vulnerable all the time. Because even men get into situations when they're like, oh, I'm glad I have tools with me to handle situations or to keep situations from popping off. That's a thing. So, the world's a dangerous place. Be prepared.
Everyone's doing some kind of self-help these days, and you can find a million self-help courses out there. Most other courses out there are hosting lectures. They're hosting videos. They're maybe even doing Q&As. And these are great starting points to encourage learning. But at Autonomy, we believe that hands-on practice is the best way to really lock in what we're learning. There's no better way to gain confidence and mastery than through action. After each lecture, we practice the concepts we've learned with other students, giving and receiving feedback in a non-judgmental environment. The result is mastery of concepts like entrepreneurship, ethical sales, and self-reliance in an environment that directly translates to the real world. Plus, you make connections with other like-minded individuals who are learning right alongside you, and you have a lifetime membership in the community. The Autonomy course with Richard Grove equips you with confidence, competence, and courage in a world filled with confusion and noise. You can learn more at getautonomy.info. We'll see you there.
What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man.